Joining us now, the Secretary General of the High Council for Human Rights of Iran and advisor to the Chief Justice of Iran, Mohammad-Javad Larijani. Thank you very much for being on the show this morning. Mike Barnacle, John Meacham, and Richard Haas are still with us as well. Let's go to the heart of the matter when it comes to Iran. The headlines of the past week, the IAEA report found evidence of nuclear weapons being a program in Iran. And you were quoted as saying that is quite laughable. Why, sir?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The reason is very simple. There is no single evidence in that. These allegations, which is aired again, is based on a document which was put to us 4 years ago, based on a laptop somewhere found by United States authorities. And at that time, 4 years ago, it has been discussed with the agency, and the conclusion was that none of these allegations could be verified. So by a letter it has been closed, the whole issue. Then again it has been renewed. And just give you an example, a good part of this so-called document, which is on the laptop, are, for example, lecture notes that somebody presented in Brussels or elsewhere in some universities. Some of them are parts of some textbook. Put together with pictures, formulas.
Well, let's back up.
It is totally inconclusive.
Inconclusive. And before I send this to Richard Haas, are you saying it doesn't exist? There is no nuclear program?
Well, we have very extensive nuclear program, but not to the direction of producing arms. Our nuclear project is very extensive, very advanced. We are number one in the Middle East. But we are not pursuing the nuclear armament for two basic reasons. Number one, there is a fatwa by Ayatollah Khamenei, the leader, that it is against Islamic jurisprudence to build and use mass destructive weapons. It is haram, we call it, unlawful. And secondly, it doesn't add to our security. It is more liability than asset for us. Our military muscle is strong enough to repel or to deter any imminent threat. And this is basically a very important achievement.
Richard Haas, put this into perspective for us, the disconnect between the different reports we're seeing and what this gentleman is saying.
Well, quite frankly, it's impossible to take the Iranian denial seriously. They're preposterous. The International Atomic Energy Agency, taking information from all of the member states in the United Nations, have put together a comprehensive and extraordinarily damning report. And what there is a pattern, not a single incident, a pattern over years of an Iranian program to move in the direction of developing nuclear weapons. We see a procurement mechanism to gain access to all sorts of equipment. We see all sorts of undeclared efforts to produce nuclear material, now up to 20%, well on its way to what you need to produce a weapon. Most important, there's now serious evidence about the Iranian testing of the implosive device that would actually be the heart of a nuclear weapon. So the idea that the Iranians have all these underground and undeclared facilities, that they've been misleading the International Atomic Energy Agency for years, and the idea they're doing this oil-rich country in order to produce electricity, if you believe that, you would seriously have to believe in the tooth fairy. Sir,
this doesn't sound like preposterous little pieces of information that we're throwing together randomly.
Well, the whole series of allegations is produced and initiated by the United States. It seems there is a good machinery to produce perpetual allegation against Iran. It's not only one case. I'm telling you exactly, there is no secret programs in our nuclear program and development. Iran's transparency is far ahead of the United States, far ahead of UK, far ahead of France, and uncomparable to Israel, which is a renegade state in the sense of NPT.
So you'll obviously let inspectors come into Iran, go in.
Inspectors are coming to Iran periodically. The cameras are there 24 hours. And this is quite obvious, yes.
But the whole concept of the way this works, just to be, when you talk about inspectors, let's just be clear, I'm not sure everyone watching this will understand.
Please.
The entire international nuclear inspection effort depends upon the willingness of the country in question to cooperate fully. This is a gentleman's agreement. They declare the facilities that are involved in the nuclear business, then the inspectors come in and look at them. If they do not declare a facility, the inspectors don't give a chance. And the problem is, this is a gentleman's agreement in a world where not every country is a gentleman. So Iran, quite frankly, has undeclared facilities and undeclared programs which the inspectors have not had access to. And the reason we only know about it is that member states, not simply the United States, sir, but many, many member states of the United Nations have provided independent information to the International Atomic Energy Agency, which, by the way, you know and I know, is not controlled by the United States.
We interviewed Mahmoud Ahmadinejad about this about a year ago, off camera, and he, too, seemed very comfortable about his position, which is similar to yours. And if you're so comfortable with your position about the lack of nuclear armament and the facilities that the IAEA is talking about, why not let inspectors completely come in, open the door, let them come in and see what you have?
Well, the mechanism that gentleman addressed is not complete because, first of all, there is no single secret installment or activity which is concealed from the agency. Well, it doesn't make sense that every morning somebody say, well, we guess there is some secret things down there. There should be foundation for this allegation. What do you mean the door should be open? They should ask, where do you want to inspect?
You know, a few moments ago when you mentioned the nuclear programs of other nations, I detected a definite edge in your voice when you mentioned the state of Israel. Do you fear an attack from the state of Israel on your nuclear facility?
What is the difference between us and Israel? Israel has the bomb, not a member of NPT. It doesn't disclose anything to agency. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, you see what the double standard is in here. We are member of NPT. They periodically come to Iran. Their cameras are there. We don't have the weapon. Then the whole pressure is put on us. This is a bad thing. No, at all. We don't fear any attack from anywhere.
But given
we take it serious in our calculation, but we don't fear. There is a difference between that.
Given your tone again, sir, when you talk about Israel just a second ago, why shouldn't we suspect that there would be ambitions for Iran to join the club of which Israel is a part with the nuclear arms?
We are very advanced in the nuclear technology, which it is a matter of pride for us. Mm-hmm. And gentlemen mentioned that we have plenty of gas and oil. With all good calculation, the age of this is up to 2025 per year, 25 years from now. And it means that if we don't have it, then we should beg in front of the Western countries to light our houses. And we know how bad they are treating us in this area. We are right now very happy that we have the first power plant. We know how to make the fuel. We already have more than 25% share of Swedish and Eurodif. They don't give us a bit of this fuel that we need, even the 20% that we needed for Tehran.
Because of your track record. Because of your track record.
This is a country. It's important to keep in mind, we're not talking about an established democracy that treats its own people with respect. We're talking about a country also that is the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. So there's obvious and understandable concern about what Iran is doing, not just in the nuclear realm, but more broadly.
In terms of record, I think United States of America is the largest and the greatest country supporting terrorism. The record of terrorist activity, which is supported by the tax money of these people, is enormous.
Wait a minute. You can say
I can go one by one.
This is a free country, okay?
Yes,
and part of our gift is we have the liberty and the freedom to say anything, and to sound foolish, to sound absurd, or to sound smart. That's absurd, saying that America is the biggest terrorist nation in the world. But my question to you, sir, is you seem like a really nice guy, all right? Why doesn't your country be a better neighbor?
We have fantastic relations with all of our neighbors.
Really?
Definitely, but the policy of demonizing Iran is a very important policy which is pursued in the region. Well, it has its own benefit.
But it's just in little things, like the American tourists cross the border. Supposedly cross the border. You grab them, you scoop them, you hold them for months on end. Why?
Well, this is very simple question. I answered that before. See, suppose the security of your people.
You're here.
So, no, I'm here with the visa. It's quite different. Security of United States people at patrol with Mexico elsewhere. They pick 3 Iranians and ask them, why you are in here? They say, well, we are just walking in the desert. Well, with the whole hostility and suspicions which is between the 2 countries, which, well, you were in here to blow up somewhere. Definitely they will put into jail for years. Even if not in Guantanamo, they bring it somewhere else. It took a lot of time that we convinced. I was working on this case because they were like me from alumni at Berkeley. I talked with their family, managed to contact between them and family when they were arrested, their family to come to Iran, to take this suspicion away. It is very natural for security people to suspect a cross-boarding, which is in the most volatile regional area of Iran, which daily there is
they're going to blow up the
shooting
desert.
over there.
That. They're going to blow up the desert. Hey, what is the root? What do you think the root is of Iranian paranoia toward the United States and toward many of its neighbors? What is the root of this paranoia? Is it the fear that we find out about your nuclear program?
We don't have any paranoia about our neighbors. We are very suspicious of American paranoia about us. The question is that what is wrong with Iran that this persistent hostility?
You have a track record of international terrorism.
This is not true. We are ourselves the greatest victim of terrorism in the area. Let me ask you, who was helping Al-Qaeda and Taliban for years while we were at war with them in Afghanistan? United States of America. The money from this state was pouring to Al-Qaeda and Taliban. The idea was we should curb Iran by another religious front. Is it correct?
Richard.
Is it correct?
No, it's not correct. And the United States did support the Mujahideen, obviously, in order to get rid of the Soviet occupiers.
We were the strongest supporter of Mujahideen.
To say that the United States supported Al-Qaeda is, again, preposterous. The fact is, though, Iran is supporting terrorism in Lebanon. It's supporting groups like Hezbollah, groups like Hamas. It is involved in Iraq. It is involved in Afghanistan. Iraq has basically become a regional power that is trying to destabilize many of the countries, trying to make them essentially, in some ways, heavily influenced by Tehran, and that is simply a fact of life, which again is one of the reasons the world is so concerned about Iranian nuclear program. How do we know Iran will not become even more aggressive? How do we know nuclear materials will not end up in the hands of a group like Hezbollah? What do we see about Iran's track record that would lead us to believe that Iran in any way would be responsible with nuclear materials? This is a genuine concern, and if you dismiss it as laughable, sir, you are seriously underestimating not simply the American, not simply the Israeli, but I would suggest the world's concern over the direction your government is heading in.
The disastrous thing is the blind policy of the United States in supporting carte blanche a renegade state like Israel, which is the source of all tensions in the region. If Hezbollah, you call them a terrorist group, and Hamas, they are fighting to be given the permission to leave. What about Israel? He is involved in government-sponsored terrorism, kills everybody who thinks that is not correct, and depriving millions of people from basic tenets of life. 60 years of atrocities in that area is supported carte blanche by the United States. This is even against the basic interests of this nation. They don't know it.
Sir, do you recognize the right of Israel to exist?
We recognize the right of Jews, Christians, and Muslims to live together in peace and tranquility. To create a racist regime at the middle of the land and put the others out is like to create a small enclave for the blacks and leave the rest for the whites.
I think you have an answer to your question.
So the answer is no.
So this is fascinating.
No, there's not no. We respect any decision by Palestinians.
Yeah.
We are not in a position to tell them what kind of a state they have. But they should be given the chance to decide.
I guess we're not going to change your mind.
So listen, this has been fascinating, and I think it's a great picture, window into the choices that Americans make when they're choosing their president. Mohammad-Javad Larijani, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you.
We will be right back.